So today we're going to talk about a wedding. Weddings are such a mix of emotion. Above all, there's joy because two people are sharing their love for each other with all their family and their friends. But they're often really stressful events as well. Everyone wants it to go so well, not only for the couple, but with family expectations, vendors and venues and music and food and budgets. And not only that, but there's this pressure to be like a Pinterest worthy wedding and let your personality shine through your wedding, through your napkin choices and everything else. And then there's this underlying all of that is there's this desperate hope that it's enjoyable for everybody there. And for most couples, it's often the one and only time you've planned an event to this large kind of scale. It's like being asked to throw a concert or put on a play with no prior experience and just kind of hoping that it's a hit. There's no doubt about it. Weddings can be really stressful. In first century Israel, there was a prescribed way that weddings happened. There were two major parts, the engagement and the actual wedding. The marriage consisted of two ceremonies that were marked by celebrations at two separate times with an interval in between. First came the betrothal and later the wedding. The betrothal, the woman was legally married, although she still remained in her father's house. She could not belong to another man unless she was divorced from her betrothed. The wedding meant only that the betrothed woman, accompanied by a colorful procession, was brought from her father's house to the house of her groom, and the legal tie with him was consummated. During this in-between interval, the groom would go and prepare a room or a separate section of his father's house for his new bride. There's a verse in John 14:3, and if I go, I will go and prepare a place for you. I will come back and take you to be with me, that you will also be where I am. That's Jesus speaking. Go to prepare a house for you. This is what a groom did for a bride. It's perhaps strange to think of humanity as the bride of God, but this is one of the major analogies used to represent the relationship between God and his people. So, when the house was prepared, then the wedding could take place. And this was a big deal because so much effort had gone into preparing their new home, and the groom was coming back to be with his wife all the time. Part of this wedding ceremony was to stay up late on the night of the wedding. The bride in her parents' house with her friends and her sisters maybe, and wait for the groom. This was like the start of the original wedding party. And all the ladies would keep the lamps lit in the house because unlike other nights, there was a special guest coming, the groom. So like Motel 6, they kept the lights on because company was coming. And this is where we enter our gospel story today. Jesus says, "Then the kingdom of heaven will be like this. 10 bridesmaids took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 of them were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them, but the wise took flasks of oil with their lamps. As the bridegroom was delayed, all of them became drowsy and slept. But at midnight there was a shout, 'Look, here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him.' Then all those bridesmaids got up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the wise, 'Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out.' But the wise replied, 'No, there will not be enough for you and for us. You had better go to the dealers and buy some for yourselves.' And while they went to buy it, the bridegroom came. And those who were ready went with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the other bridesmaids came also, saying, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But he replied, "Truly I tell you, I do not know you. Keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour." Okay. So, in this wedding, half of the wedding party misses the big event. Why? Because they were in such a rush to get to the wedding, or they thought it was happening sooner than later, and they just only brought a little oil that was in the lamps. The other 5 brought a second flask of oil and were ready when the groom made his grand entrance, even though he'd been delayed. So why is Jesus telling this story to the disciples? Jesus is telling his disciples, his inner circle, about the end times, the final chapter of the story of this world. And as amazing as all they have seen with him, they have one more adventure yet: Christ's return. But like any major event that is in the future, we can get caught up in the event and miss everything before it. I've seen this happen with weddings, where instead of concentrating on how beautiful the relationship is, or enjoying all the friends and family gathered to be with you, the wedding becomes about the performance and how perfect it must be. And all of a sudden, you've forgotten what the whole thing was about. Now, there's lots of scholarly opinions on what the oil is supposed to represent in our story today, but one of my favorites is that it represents good deeds or mercies. And there's some fun suggestions that the word for oil and the word for mercy have some root connotations in the Greek. But this may have been the reason why the bridesmaids couldn't share. The actions of one person can't be transferred to another. So what Jesus is telling the disciples is, yes, I am coming back. And yes, be ready in your minds and hearts, but know that you have work to do in the meantime. You still need to take care of folks. Find lost people to gather as a part of our community. Look for people that need to be loved. With so many enormous events happening all around us, elections, pandemics, economies rising and falling, we can forget that life isn't 100% about that stuff. It's also about day-to-day stuff. Taking care of friends and family, reaching out to people we haven't talked to in a while, working for justice, and seeing to the needs of other people. I often see Christians get caught up in waiting for Christ. The future world where Christ comes in and rights every wrong is a really exciting prospect. But don't let it make you take your eye off this giant blue ball that we are currently spinning on. How we treat each other while we wait for the world to be changed matters as well. I had a man call the church the other day. Nice guy. He was contacting as many churches in the Lake County area as he could because he was absolutely convinced that the end times was about to start, that Jesus was going to come back at any moment. And he talked my ear off for over an hour, explaining that through prophecy, math, and world political events, that we should be ready for Jesus to come down on his white horse at any moment. This was according to him. Now, I didn't agree or disagree with him, because while I have my thoughts on things like this, I'm happy to listen to others' thoughts on it as well. But after a while, I asked him, I said, okay, if Jesus is coming back soon, what does looking ready look like to you? Like, if Jesus is coming back tomorrow, like, what do we need to do? He paused for a long while, and he said, well, I don't know. I said, I wonder if we just need to keep doing the same thing that Jesus' followers have been doing for centuries. We take care of people. We take care of friends and family. We reach out to others. We take care of the needs of others. We just keep on loving people. It's not that we're not excited for the day that Jesus comes back. We are. I am. I look at the world around me so full of brokenness and division, and I would love for it to be made whole in an instant. For it all to be equal in a second. But in the meantime, I'm gonna keep on working. I'm gonna stay ready. I'll keep a light on. I'll keep putting oil in the lamp. I'll wait until heaven is made ready for me. And I'll keep doing life like I know Jesus would have me do, with kindness, with care, and love. In some ways, it doesn't matter how bananas the world has gotten around us. We still have work to do. And I think that's really good news. It can be so easy to get overwhelmed in a sea of stress and anxiety while tectonic events happen in our country. Elections, pandemics, worry for our future. What if serving and loving others is the focus switch we need to carry us through? I believe truly that there is no person too young or too old to pick a cause or a person that is important to care for. And not only that, but I don't believe God makes doing this painful for us, but engaging for us. When we focus on the oil of mercies, we are always made full.
One day your pain be washed away, but your mercy will remain. How from your throne righteousness flows. One day all will be made whole. Let justice roll. Let justice roll. Reign on the earth, Jesus alone. Let your kingdom overflow. Pour out your peace, set up your throne. Fill this valley with your hope. Let justice roll. Let justice roll. You see the world as daughters and sons in an ocean of your love. You want your church to reach for the lost, more than thousands of our song. Let justice roll. Let justice roll. Reign on the earth, Jesus alone. Let your kingdom overflow. Pour out your peace. justice roll. Let justice roll.